Welcome to our first online class meeting for Design 224 CAD Certification. My name is Jamie Hamilton, or you may also have seen me listed as James Hamilton, and I'm an assistant professor at the Indianapolis campus of Ivy Tech Community College. And I've got my contact information down here for you as well. My office on campus is T316 of the Glick Technology Building. And more importantly, for our online class, my email address is jhamilton83@ivtech.edu. So for our first online meeting, we're basically going to go through and kind of get a feel for the class and what we're going to do together over the next 8 weeks. I'm going to let you know a little bit about the schedule, the syllabus, what to expect, what not to expect, and kind of what we're going to be doing to get you ready for the culmination at the end of this class where you attempt to take the AutoCAD Certified Professional exam. So today is just kind of to get your feet wet. And the first week is going to give you a chance to figure out where everything's at in Blackboard and what kind of resources I've made available to you to study for this test. But before we do that, I want to go through and kind of let you know a little bit about me, since you're going to be listening to my voice for the next 7-8 weeks. You know, it kind of helps if you know a little bit about the person that's actually teaching you this stuff, I think, and if you know what they're talking about or not. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts of the class and how everything's going to work. So first I want to give you my contact information. I've given you my office number, T316, which is on the 3rd floor of the technology building, and that's on the West Fall Creek Parkway in Indianapolis. That's the downtown campus. And my email, jhamilton83@ivtech.edu, and I'm also going to give you my office phone number. It's 317-917-5916. Now, if I'm in my office, I'll answer. If not, you can leave me a voicemail. That voicemail will go to my email. But the best way, if I don't answer my phone, if I'm out of the office, is just to email me. I will get that immediately if you send it to me, and I'll try to respond to you as quick as I can. So there are times where I can't respond, but if you send me an email, that's the best way to get in touch with me. And office hours, if you're close enough that you wanted to drive in and actually meet with me in person sometime, that's perfectly acceptable. I have a schedule for you in Blackboard that I'll show you, but I do have regular office hours during the week if you wanted to come in and meet with me in person. If you had a question that was just too difficult to figure out through email or through a phone call, you're more than welcome, if you're within driving distance, to stop by and see me on campus. So I just want to share a little bit of my background and experience with you to kind of hopefully prove that I do know what I'm talking about most of the time. So I teach in the School of Technology at Ivy Tech. I am full-time assistant professor. So I teach primarily in the design technology program, teaching CAD software like AutoCAD, Inventor, SolidWorks, Revit. I also teach in the mechanical engineering technology program and usually teach intro to engineering or intro to mechanical engineering. So you may have had me in one of those classes. A little bit about my education. I have several college degrees. I have an associate's in MET that I finished in 2005 at the Richmond campus of Purdue, which is a little satellite campus over on the east side of Indiana, if you're familiar with where Richmond is. I then transferred to IUPUI in Indianapolis and finished my bachelor's in MET in 2006. And after I'd been out of college for a couple of years, I figured out that I could get a second bachelor's degree with a few more classes. So I went back and finished a bachelor's in industrial technology in 2008, also from Purdue University. I'm not an IT guy. A lot of people see the bachelor's in IT and they think that's information technology, but I'm not a computer repairman necessarily. It's industrial technology, so more manufacturing based. And then I finally just finished my Master's of Science in Technology in 2014 with a focus in STEM education, and I completed that at IUPUI as well. Now, some of my real-world hands-on experience, I've worked in both manufacturing and in architecture, so I'm a little bit weird in that instance. A lot of people usually stick to one or the other, but I have done a lot of mechanical drawings and also a lot of architectural drawings. My mechanical experience comes from Merchandising Equipment Group, which was a sheet metal stamping plant. And my architectural experience comes from Lorenz Williams Clinton, which is a full-service architecture engineering firm where I did HVAC design for large commercial buildings, and I'll show you an example of some here in a second. And I also have experience doing engineering for Circle Design Group on the south side of Indianapolis, where I was also an HVAC designer. So here's some of the projects that I worked on. This is downtown Indianapolis. This is the Alexander Hotel, and you may have driven by this before. So I did this project when I was at Circle Design Group. I worked on it with several other engineers and designers. So I didn't do the whole thing and won't claim to, but I had a fair amount to do with this project. And primarily my job on this project was to do all the heating and cooling calculations. So I measured all the different areas of the building from the architect's floor plans. And then from there, we calculated how big our air conditioning and heating equipment had to be. So if you ever go past the Alexander Hotel, which sort of sits where Market Square Arena used to be, roughly, that's a project that I have had direct involvement with. This is also another project that I worked on at University of Indianapolis. So I was the sole mechanical designer for this project. This was one that I did all on my own. This is a residence hall for students where they can basically live while they're on campus. So if you're ever on the U of I campus and you go past Roberts Hall, that's a building that I did a lot of mechanical design on. This is one that I worked on intermittently with some of our other engineers. This is in downtown Chicago. This is the Clark and Grand Hotel. So this is kind of interesting because there are 3 separate hotels all together in this one building. And then finally back at downtown Indianapolis, this is the Indy Bike Hub. So they took this fairly empty building, which was part of City Market, and they turned it into a bike hub / YMCA. So the idea here is that you can ride your bike downtown, lock it up, take a shower at the bike hub, and then walk to work. And you don't have to take your bike to work with you or show up all sweaty and dirty from riding your bike. And kind of interesting, they also built a YMCA with the bike hub. So if you want to lift weights or run on the treadmill, you can do that also. And Bicycle Garage Indy also runs a small bike shop out of there in case you have a breakdown, you can fix your bicycle. So that's another project that I helped design. And finally, a little bit about some of my personal interests. I enjoy playing basketball. I have a Mazda RX-7, which is my main hobby. I enjoy working out, weightlifting, biking. I'm a big Pacers fan. Some of my favorite TV shows are Top Gear, Seinfeld, Breaking Bad. I enjoy vintage video games, and I also am sort of a tree nerd. I enjoy going to state parks, camping, hiking, and also planting trees. So here's some of my car projects that I've had in the past. I mentioned I was interested in Mazda RX-7s as a hobby. So this is the first one that I ever bought. It's a 1985, and these have the strange Wankel rotary engines that you've probably heard of. And that's that same car when I got it done a couple years later. And here's the second one that I owned after I sold the first one. This one was a 1983. And here's the inside of it after I finished it. And finally, the one that I own now that I'm still working on, which is in pieces in my garage at home. So hopefully someday I'll get this one completed. I also like to take other stuff apart, so I like to redo old bicycles as well. That's kind of one of my other hobbies, is restoring bicycles. So this is an old Schwinn that I bought and fixed up and looked like that when I got done with it. And I also enjoy trying to find large trees. So this is a tree that I found on the southeast side of Indianapolis. It's a chinkapin oak tree, and after I measured it, it is the second largest chinkapin oak tree in the state of Indiana. So I'm hoping that someday this tree will be a state champion, and if it's a state champion, they give you a plaque and make a big deal about it. But I like to look for large trees and measure them and see whether or not they're state champions. This is another one that I found in Turkey Run State Park in Indiana. It's a huge sycamore tree that you can actually climb down inside of and out the other side. So you can see, based on me with my arms out, how big this tree is. So that's a little bit about me. Now we're going to move into a little bit more about our class. So in our Blackboard page, I'm going to kind of give you a tour of Blackboard here to start with. So over on the left-hand side here, you'll notice we have an Announcements tab. And the Announcements tab is where I'm going to put all of your assignments each week and any video links that you need to get to. So I'll put the videos that you need to watch each week there and also tell you what your assignment is for that particular week. Now, you're not going to see everything that I have right here because I've turned part of the things off temporarily. So as we go through this, you're going to notice that there are things that I have that you don't have, but they will become available to you as we go through the class and as you need them. So announcements is basically where I will post your assignments, and I will email them to you each week also. So once a week you'll get an email from me, and you'll have 1 week from when I email you the assignment to complete it. So you basically have 1 week to get everything done from when you get it. Moving on to our syllabus tab. The syllabus tab, I have two different things for you. I have a formal syllabus here that you're welcome to look through, and then I also have a more informal semester schedule right here. So looking at our semester schedule, this basically tells you what we're going to do each week through the class if you want to go ahead and kind of look ahead. So today, for week 1, we're basically going to go over the class expectations, get familiar with what we're doing, and then next week, in week 2, we'll actually start doing some practice exams. And weeks 2 through 7, we're basically going to work through together several practice exams, and I will work through the questions and actually show you how I would answer them and put the answers in and actually complete each question of each test. So by the time we're done with this entire class, you will have worked through roughly 70 to 100 practice questions with me. So by then, hopefully you have a really good feel for how this test works after you've worked through 70 to 100 questions one-on-one with me through YouTube and through Blackboard and through AutoCAD. So that's really the meat of this class. In the middle is taking several practice exams to get you ready for week 8, where we complete the certified professional exam. So over here on the right-hand side, I also have the grades for this class. So most of your grades, the points are going to come from the prep exams. So you can see over here I'm giving you points for completing each prep exam, and then finally at the end you have 35 points for completing the certification exam, the actual real deal. And I'll also give you weekly participation points for participating in the class, 2 points for each week for a total of 16. So people ask me, is it possible to pass this class if I don't pass the certification exam? Yes, you can pass this class even if you fail horribly on the certification exam the very last week. So the purpose of this class is not to force you to pass the certification exam. The purpose of this class is to expose everyone to industry certifications and give them a feel for what it takes to become certified in a particular area of technology, and also to make sure that you give it a good, honest, fair attempt at taking the test. So the goal for this class, my goal is for you to pass the test and become certified, but it's not absolutely required. So you can see based on the points here that even if you got a 0 right here and did absolutely horrible on the exam, you can still pass the class and graduate. So here is the grading scale for the class basically, and I use a regular 90, 80, 70, 60 grading scale. So 90% is an A-, 80% is a B-, 70% is a C-, and so on and so forth. A couple other notes about our assignments. Down here, number 1, students may submit practice exams as many times as they desire. So I'm going to be setting up these practice exams in Blackboard so that when you input your answers, it will automatically grade them. Now, if you don't like the grade you got for a particular practice question or for a particular practice exam, you can go back and do it as many times as you want. And the reason I do that is I want to get you into the material as much as I can and have you spend as much time with it as possible. So if you complete one of these practice exams and you get a 14 out of 20, you can go back and do it again as many times as you want until you get a score that you're happy with. And the highest score for each attempt is what I'll take and use for your grade calculation. So for instance, this exam, if you try it 6 times and you finally get a 19 out of 20 on the 6th try, that will be your grade for that particular assignment. And I'll also be giving you weekly participation points as well, so a total of 199 points in the class. And then down here at the very bottom, you'll see week 8. It says complete the AutoCAD Certified Professional Exam in person on campus at the specified location. So that's really the next thing that I want to look at. So over here on the left-hand side in Blackboard, I have a button that says choose your test date, and this is really your assignment for this first week, other than going through and getting familiar with everything. If you click on this button that says choose your test date, I have basically 2 options in here for you to take the exam. Now, due to the nature of this test and the amount of prep that it takes to get ready to proctor it, we're only going to be able to offer these 2 options for taking the test. So we have a morning option and an evening option. And it's critical that you actually come to take this test. If you don't come and participate in the test, you can't pass the class. So you have a 2-month head notice here, or head start, to get your ducks in a row. And if you need to, get the day off from work, or you need to arrange childcare or find a ride to campus, this is really your 2-month warning for you to figure out which of these 2 days is going to work for you, and beg, borrow, and steal whatever you need to do to get here for that 2-hour window on one of these two time slots. So you can pick one or the other. You can't attend both, and you must attend one. Now, so I know who is coming to which session because we have 10 to 15 people in this class. I put together a little survey up here that says, please choose your test date. So once you know which of these 2 sessions you're going to be attending, so either the morning session from 8 to 10 a.m. or the evening session from 7:30 to 9:30, you can come in here to the survey, choose begin, and you'll essentially come down here and pick whichever option you plan to attend. So let's say I'm going to choose the evening session for myself. I'll pick that, and then make sure you hit save and submit. And OK. And OK. And then it'll take you back to the window here. So make sure you go in and fill out the survey so I know which session you're going to be coming to, and I can have the right number of test files ready for everyone that's going to be there. Now, if you can't make it to either of these, I would recommend that you drop the course and take it again in a later semester. The whole purpose of this class is for you to attend one of these 2 sessions and attempt this test. So if you're not going to be able to make it on one of these 2 class sessions, I would recommend you go ahead and drop the class now and get a refund instead of going to the end of the class and then you can't take the test. So make sure that you can attend one of these 2 days. And I also have down here the room location. So if you're watching this in the future, in a future semester, this data is going to be different for you. But for the very first run through of our online version of this class, these are the 2 options that you have. So make sure you check in Blackboard in your particular tab. These dates may be different if you're taking this 2 or 3 semesters from now, but it will be in room 224 for this particular semester on October 15th. Now, I have driving directions for you also over here that I put together with a Google map. So here is the address for the Glick Technology Building. You can put in your address here and find the Google driving directions if you don't know where the building is, if you're not from the Indianapolis campus. Moving right along, the certification test info. This is a little bit more information about how the actual test takes, or how the actual test takes place, I should say. And we're not going to go through everything in here, but I just want to sort of expose you to what some of this stuff is. The tips for passing the exam and the exam rules, I'm going to go through these in a separate video that I'll give you a link to also, but these 2 are a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to go through each one of these in a separate video. So these will be videos 2 and 3 for you for today, in addition to the one that you're watching right now. Some general notes about the test. The cost of the test is $90, and you already paid for 1 test take through Ivy Tech when you signed up for the class. So technically you've already purchased 1 test take, so there's no additional money for you to pay beyond what you've already paid for the class. The test is 35 questions, you get 2 hours to complete it, and the passing score is a 27, which is a 77%. So you have to get roughly a C on this test to become certified. And if you don't pass it the first time, you can take the test up to a total of 3 times within a 12-month period. So people always ask me, well, if I don't pass the exam, what do I do? You're going to have to pay another $90 if you want to take it again. Now, that is optional. We only require that you take it once. So if you take it the one time and you decide, I wasn't very close, I don't want to take it again, that's perfectly fine. If you get a 26 and you decide, oh, I was so close, I want to take it again, I want to pass this thing, you can pay another $90 and try it again, and you can try up to 3 times in a year. We will take the test in our classroom 224, and I will proctor the exam. During the test, you only get a pencil and pen or paper, and the computer that I will provide you. You can't use a book, notes, cell phone, electronic device. All you get is the pencil and paper. Talking to someone else during the test, obviously I have to fail you for that. The majority of questions require you to use AutoCAD to create or modify a file. And this is very different than what a lot of people think when they think AutoCAD test. And you're going to see how this works as we go through the practice tests over the next 6 weeks. When people think of an AutoCAD test, they usually think that I'm going to give them a drawing and they have to create the drawing and then submit it. It's completely different than what you're expecting, which is why a lot of people say that this test doesn't necessarily represent your ability to create a drawing. It's more about, do you know the ins and outs of AutoCAD? So we're going to go through over the next 6 weeks basically this bullet point right here, what to expect and how do you tackle this test and pass it. So this is a big one right here. And then there are also some multiple choice, matching, and point and click questions. So the next thing I have for you is the exam prep guide. So looking at this, there's not a whole lot here other than if you scroll down, you'll notice there's 2 different types of tests in this PDF. They have one called the Certified User and the AutoCAD Certified Professional. The Certified User is an easier test and it really doesn't carry much respect in industry. It's so easy that most people just overlook it. So that's why we're going to be doing the Certified Professional. The Certified Professional is really the industry standard test that's respected by most people as being difficult and somewhat hard to achieve. So this is the test that we're going to be completing. But basically what this list does is it shows you all the topics that are fair game for the test. So if it's not on this list, it's not going to be on the test. So that's the nice thing about this list, is it's sort of like the master set of topics that you want to study as you get ready for this test. So ignore the left-hand side over here, but you might want to print this out and kind of use this as a study guide of what to work on and what to not work on. And finally, I want to show you an example of a sample certificate. So this is one of my certificates that I earned from the 2014 test. And if you pass, they'll give you a certificate with the software version and your name, the date you took the test, and then down here in the corner, they'll give you a unique registration number. And this goes into a searchable database where employers can search by state or by city and figure out all the people in Indiana or in Indianapolis or any other city who have passed a specific AutoCAD certified professional test. So if somebody searched in Indianapolis for AutoCAD certified professionals, my name would pop up with my registration number. So if you choose that option when you take the test, you could be entered into this database if you pass the test. So it's a nice way of getting recognized by someone who might be looking for your particular skill set. I also think it's nice to see this certificate so you kind of know what you're working for. And if you guys pass the exam the day we take the test, then I'll print this out for you in color on really nice cardstock and give you a certificate holder, so it'll look really nice when you actually pass, and we'll print it out and give you a physical copy of it when you pass the test that same day, so you don't have to wait on it to show up in the mail. You get it immediately. And they also give you a stamp that you can put on your resume if you're interested in that. And again, these two we're going to go through in a separate video, so we're going to go ahead and skip these right now because they will be videos 2 and 3 for you today that you'll watch here in a second, hopefully. The official test prep guide. This is a somewhat overwhelming giant PDF that I've given you, that if you click on this, you can see this is a 457-page PDF. And you're not going to look through every page of this, I understand that, but I want you to basically use this thing as a reference guide. Now, we're not really going to spend much, if any, time in this semester. I would rather spend our time going through particular questions, but this is sort of like your textbook for this class for you to use as a resource and a reference. So if you look at this, the nice thing about this is certified by Autodesk, and more importantly, the table of contents is set up exactly like that list of topics that I showed you on the other PDF. So if you look through that list of topics and you know there's things that you're weak on or specific areas you need to work with, you can go through this and kind of reference and say, okay, well, on the list of topics they say working with text. Well, that's pretty generic. What does that mean, working with text? So here you can look in the study guide and see, okay, working with text, I need to be able to know how to add text into a drawing, how to use multi-line text, how to do text styles, and so on and so forth. So this is nice for breaking out these specific topics and figuring out what you need to know specifically about that topic. The other nice thing is they have practice questions at the end of each of these sections. And the practice questions are fairly similar to the actual exam. So for instance, if you need to work with multi-leaders, you could look through these 6 or 7 pages about multi-leaders and then try these 5 or 6 practice questions that go with it. So This is a really nice giant reference that you can use for pretty much any AutoCAD question you would ever have. And it's also got some practice problems in it. Now, you've also noticed probably that I've given you a zip file right here. The zip file contains drawing files that are used for the practice questions. So for instance, if we look at a practice question, so here, let's say we look at maybe this question, practice 1G, and they tell you to start a new drawing based on a template or open up a specific file. A lot of times these practice questions, they tell you to open up a specific file. That's what these are. So to access these, you want to right-click this and go to Save Link As or Save Target As, depending on which internet browser you're using. And I'm just going to save it on my desktop. And I'll save that zip folder full of drawings. And you can see it right here. So now I have to do what's called extracting that or opening it. So I'm going to right-click this and extract it just by going to Extract All, and then I'll hit Extract. And you'll see that it basically unzips or unpacks that folder. So now right here, if I close this, here's the same folder unpacked, and you'll notice the little zipper is gone. So I can basically take this one and recycle it, and here is the new one. And then inside here are all of the drawing files that are referenced by that 457-page PDF that I gave you. So if you choose to work through some of those practice problems, which is a really good idea, here are the drawings that they will reference. So they may tell you to open one of these up and modify it. And that's, now you have those and you can get to them whenever you need them. So this is basically like your master reference. So any practicing you want to do, I would say use this guide. It's a great resource. Moving on, in our week by week folder, there's not a lot here for you right now, but if I need to hand out things or give you things or make drop boxes for assignments, this is where you're going to find it. So in the week by week folders. So when we get to doing our practice tests, I'm going to build actual tests where you can go in and type your answers in here. So next week, I'll make a couple of locations in week 2 where you can go in and start submitting your answers to these practice tests as we work through them. So not a lot there for you right now, but we will start filling up this week by week folder. The My YouTube Videos button, I'm going to set up for you as we go through the class as well. So I'll put links to these in the announcements tab, but if you need to go back and find them all in one spot, this is where you can do that. So I'll break out the YouTube videos for the class for each week. If you want to go through and watch those, you can. Finally, we have the AutoCAD download site and the AutoCAD download help. It's going to be absolutely necessary that you have access to a computer with AutoCAD on it. You can't practice passing the test if you don't even have access to the software. So you can get a free, full student version of this program just by going to the Autodesk website, and that's what this button is. So if I click on the download site, that takes me to the Autodesk webpage where if you use your email address, you can sign up for a full free working version of AutoCAD. And if you have trouble doing that process of downloading and installing that program, I have a button right here with a separate video that will walk you through the process. This is me basically downloading and installing the software on my computer, and I show you some of the tricks along the way of getting that done. Finally, my grades. I don't have anything here, obviously, since I'm an instructor, but here you'll see your grades pop up for participation or for each of the practice tests each week. As you complete work through the course and we go through these 8 weeks, you're going to see all of that information pop up in here. And finally, my instructor information. This is where you can find my contact information and the schedule that I mentioned earlier, where you can go and actually see where I'm at on campus at a specific day or a specific time. So that's basically how to get started on this class and kind of what you need to know to get the ball rolling. So your 2 assignments for today are to tell me which test date you prefer by completing the survey under this test date button, and then basically going back through and getting familiar with some of these buttons, where things are at and what's available to you. So we won't really start the true practice work until next week. So today is a chance for you to watch this video, and I'll put 2 more videos in there for you as well about rules for the test and tips for passing the test. So look for those other 2 videos. So for today, watch the 3 videos, get familiar with where everything is at, and then most importantly, tell me which test date you plan to attend. If you have any questions, you can email me as always, jhamilton83@ivtech.edu, and I'll try to answer your emails as soon as possible. So Good luck going through everything on your own. Good luck watching the other two videos, and I will see you later on in our next video.